folks, this is Bob from BBD, News with Views, a roundup over the weekend and Christmas and all that stuff. Not much happening. I mean, I haven't been on broadcasting at all. So what do we have? That the same nonsense continues in the two states, big states of the BJP, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. To me, it seems to be there's some kind of a competition going on between Shivraj Chauhan, Yogi, and maybe the center, and it's kind of strange. Any laws they seem to bring up are being smashed down by the High Court, right? And probably eventually by the Supreme Court. So here, what do we have? MP love jihad, bill tougher, but limits who can file FIR. Bloody hell, I can't understand. People are without jobs, incomes are not there, and Shivraj Chauhan, all he's worried about is love jihad. All cows. The cows are dying in the pens they've been put in these gaushalas. Nothing is for real, folks. Let's get down to reality. What do we have here? Many interfaith couples quietly move out of UP. Oof. That's kind of staged. Muslim boy walks Hindu girl home, thrashed, arrested. But saffron support for interfaith couples. So when two Muslim women in UP's Bareilly get married to Hindu men, saffron is out there protecting them. What else are we going to say, right? But indefensible actions. Again, UP. UP police is cutting a sorry figure in courts and the government is to blame. And that's exactly the point. They are losing every possible case, and thank God. But they're not giving in, right? Neither Madhya Pradesh is giving in, nor Uttar Pradesh is giving in. And then what do we have here? Threat of arrest forces interfaith couples to flee UP. Wow. Another one, right? Our freedoms are up. I don't know who tells these guys of policemen of our religion what is good, what's bad. Halal meat forbidden for Hindus. Sikh corporation draft. Halal meat against Hinduism, Sikhism. Restaurants must specify. Well, I must agree restaurants must specify, because globally when you go, there are signages for kosher meat and halal meat all across the world, whether you go to the United States, United Kingdom, etc., etc. But I guess it's stretching it too far when it says the meat is against, especially when you're lumping Sikhism in it. I don't think that's anything but, if anything, I don't think there's any truth in it at all. Like, why are you lumping Sikhs in with Hindus? I think it's not even I don't think it's in our Gita or anywhere else where it says that you can't that halal meat is banned. It's not true, folks. It's just not true, right? But Adhyanath, Ram Mandir is Rashtra Mandir. What does that mean? Is the Golden Temple not a Rashtra Mandir? Are the temples of the south and Orissa, are they not Rashtra Mandir? Why is this a Rashtra Mandir? I demand an explanation, folks. But I'm glad Anna DMK is not falling for this BJP bull, as a lot of other parties who've joined them have fallen and realized at the cost of their own existence that this is a dubious relationship to get into. AIDMK message to ally BJP: fall in line or rework your 2021 poll options. They're not getting any. They're absolutely not going to get to be part of the government at all. And I'm glad somebody's standing up. But when you go to the wrong side of this government, what do you have? After Khadse, Raut's wife gets ED notice. Sena NCP says center targeting opposition. ED summoned Sanjay Raut's wife in PMC bank scam case. Khadse summoned by ED in land deal case. ED and income tax. Favorite. You're not with them? ED is against you. Wow, what a misuse of central machinery. Now, how does federalism work, man? Absolutely, there's no trust. How can there be any trust? And look at this. Raid on Pracha office amounts to breach of privilege expert. So this Pracha is a lawyer who's defending the people who've been charged with those riots, the Northeast Delhi riots. Now, this just does not show Delhi police in any good light at all. But then how can it, right? They're also pawns, I guess. This is another scam, which I think is kind of strange. PM Cares owned, controlled and established by government says. So sometimes it says it's owned, controlled by center. Sometimes it says it's not owned, controlled by center. But I am not going to answer the RTI. Now that's a kind of a shame, a scam of mammoth proportions. The defense forces have contributed into this. I don't even know why the defense forces ever were forced to contribute into this. The chiefs must answer for this. That's absolutely obnoxious. And what does this say? Raut calls for expanding UPA, denies backing Pawar to head it. Sena says need united opposition front. Pawar should lead it. Rahul putting up strong fight, but something is lacking. Bengal Congress gets nod for pact with left. So here, opposition needs to get together. And the impediment has to be the Gandhi family, obviously. Chamchas are again coming out, like Chidambaram, one of them. Oh, Pawar can't lead. Somebody needs to be the focal point. If PC can't be, Rahul can't be, Pawar is ideal. And in Bengal, I think this Adhir needs to be, put on notice because he's the only guy standing in the way between a combined between the Congress and the TMC. This juggernaut of the BJP can only stop if all three get together. If Congress and the left think that they can play this dubious game of letting the BJP in and then they'll try and come back, they will be slaughtered. Especially the left will be slaughtered. Congress is anyway out, right? What is this? Gupkar and BJP see opposite verdicts on 370 in J&K. Now that says something, that they were free and fair elections. And thank God for that, right? But what I noticed is something that which I didn't know, is what Hasib Drabu writes. Junior MLA Senior Punch. He says both BJP and Gupkar alliance made their point in DDC elections. What lost is a framework of disempowerment. That's kind of interesting. He says from a federal perspective, a framework of disempowerment is being created in the garb of decentralization. Far from being proto-democratic bodies strengthening grassroots democracy, it is the atomization of electoral representative and democracy. This new system cuts into development and its delivery by the local self-government whose remit and mandate has been compromised. This takes the issue beyond the boundaries of Kashmir. So let me just tell you this DDC, which was promoted in Sri Lanka, was never successful, right? But another interesting thing, NCNA faction to join Naga peace talks. I'm glad something is happening in the Northeast because it's been hanging fire for too long. And here, what do we have? Make list of foreign products, swap them for Indian ones. As long as the Indian ones are not made by Baba Ramdev, or that's what the Prime Minister is suggesting, we are okay. Anything that's manufactured in India should be considered Indian. But I know the kind of folks we have in our administration and the chamchas we have all over the place who will now suddenly start going after Procter and Gamble products and say Tide is bad. Somebody's go about and say anything that is Hindustan Levers is bad. Technically, folks, I think there's a huge amount of confusion in the government and especially at the top. They really can't figure out what they want, folks. More after the break.
Express Logistics Limited provides Army driver, highly disciplined, fighting fit, duty ourselves. I love Express Logistics Limited.
Welcome back, folks. Now recap of what's happening in our farmers' protests as the days get. I mean, as we get further into number of days that these people have been sitting out, the trust seems to be I think totally lost. The government continues to be on the back foot, and the kind of statements being made and the attempts being made by the Prime Minister and the Amit Shah to get these as I said, Jai Chands of farmers to parrot their line. And you can see there's a sparse crowd, and most of them don't seem to be farmers, but the farmers are just not buying it, even though the talks are possibly, as they suggest, that may be happening. But I don't put much faith in it, but let's see, and let's see what happens here. Okay, here's the attempt. The man again gets at it. In signal to tillers, PM hails Charan Singh. They'll go to any lengths, folks, and go down at any depths. Right? But the protests are now taking a different color altogether, which is true globally too. Protests against big business too from December 26 Kisan leaders. So now Ambani and Adani are becoming the favorite punch boys, and they deserve to be. They really deserve to be, right? The fat guys are having these big parties in Mumbai, and they really don't care about what's happening in the rest of the country. There's going to be hell to pay if they continue like this, folks. Now, what does Qatar do? 13 face bid to murder charges over blocking of Qatar convoy. Who would murder this guy, man? Hey, shameful, right? Cops blocked Jaipur highway to stop Maharashtra farmers, right? That's going to cause another problem. The first, created the issue last year in the 1st of Jan, if you remember, with the way the kind of force was used against the gathering of the Dalits there. This does not bode well for this country. Then it says to spread MSP lies, stir started after end of procurement. This is what I mean. This is the kind of half or total untruths being parroted by none other than the Prime Minister. That is really getting the goat up of the farmer, right? And what he says, that I have got it here. You come around, we've been fooled twice around, you come around the next time around, and I've got it here. But it's gone further. US lawmakers write to Pompeo over farm stuff. Well, we can keep going after and saying, they've not got it right, it's an internal matter, but the problem is, this Prime Minister has stretched his constituency, domestic constituency, into the countries like the United Kingdom and the United States, etc., 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 and has robust BJP cells and robust global RSS cells that have been trying to parrot and trying to position India in their image, right? You're going to have a blowback because, folks, at the end of the day, 30% or 33% or 34% of voters voted for this government. 70% did not. And it's probably absolutely possible that the global diaspora that's been sitting there is also configured in the same way. And they don't care. If they don't like what you're doing, they don't like what you're doing. You can't hurt them. Here, obviously, everybody's good. We are all worried. Oh, some tax guy will come, some ED guy will come. But there, they're not worried. So, I think we really, without worrying about and, putting up a defense of it's an internal matter, it's no longer an internal matter. This protest is probably going global. Not just the Indian farmer global, but it seems to be an entire movement that seems to have been created by the Indian farmer. And I think we got to worry. And here is another dubious action. Sikh Guru's history to be in UP school syllabus Yogi. Well, what do you say to this? I mean, if it was not so apparent, man, you really don't. I mean, let's put it this way. This Yogi's community does not have anything to show for either the freedom fighters. They don't have anything to show either for the fight against the Mughals, except now crying over spilt milk because, it's got, they came in and destroyed all these different temples. But hey, one has to ask, where were you sitting then? Where were you then? Why weren't you defending all these temples at that time? It's a question to remember. Why were the Sikhs the only people out there defending their faith and the faith of everybody else in this country? Point to ponder, folks, but it does not go down well. So far, they could not swallow that fact. And that's the truth, right? But the farmers continue on their terrace. Sowing season over. Farmers from UP and Uttarakhand make their way to Ghazipur. So this is going to keep getting bigger. And right on call, just like Yogi now has got trying to appease the Sikhs by Sikh Guru's history to be in UP's school syllabus, like I said. Who's he kidding? Not me, right? He's not fooling the Sikhs either, folks. And what do you have here? PM invokes Sikh Gurus, calls for self-sufficiency. Now a great time to keep invoking Sikh Gurus. I wonder where the hell was he when he was kind of throwing them out of Gujarat and Kutch. When he was taking the land away from Kutch, from the Punjab farmers that had been resettled there by none other than Shastri after Shastri pre-1965 to populate that area because they felt it was under threat from the Pakistanis. What happened then? I've seen those sites too when he was the chief minister at that time. Well, is something that's done at the surface level does not sing true, and you're not going to be able to fool these guys in Punjab, folks. More after the break. Welcome back, folks. I end with something that I've always said. BJP is basically a trader party, or in other words, a Baniya party. And this is let me just read out something that I've read, which makes interesting reading. Consider how the Banya tells us a different story about the past. The first time this caste transformed modern India was in 18th century when traders supported the East India Company to make colonialism possible, right? They did so by switching allegiance from Kshatriya rulers, whether Hindu or Muslim. Here lies the problem. Is the Banya party about to change our history again? Jai Hind.